pleasure for us to presenting our work here right now in front of you from Minhaj University and all the attendees. Today, we would like to talk about the Indian Ocean region and our solutive suggestion to reducing the political tension through maritime security cooperation. Alfie, have you set up the screen already? Alfie, okay.
We can see
Uh, okay. The subject we divided our presentation into six main parts, like you can see on the screen. First, we're gonna take a look at countries that had an interest in Indian Ocean region. Secondly, we're gonna talk about the case study of piracy and military arms race in Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean during age of discovery and its importance in modern trade, international law regarding regional safety and anti-piracy, UNSC resolution, and it will be closed with our solution recommendation. Um, yeah, the Indian Ocean itself is the third largest open ocean area after the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean, whose waters cover one-fifth of the world's waters. Geographically, this ocean has a stretch of water of 6,200 nautical miles or around 10,000 kilometers. If measured from the southern tip of Africa to Australia, and 70 up to 70 million square kilometers if measured without calculating its marginal area. This ocean itself has a fairly massive geographic coverage with the east coast of Africa and the Arabian mainland at its western end, as well as the Indonesian mainland, the western coast of Australia, and the Thailand-Malaysia peninsula at its eastern end. With the Asian continent running along its northern border, India is the largest part of the South Asian subcontinent, which divides the Indian Ocean into the Arabian Sea to the west and the Bay of Bengal to the east of the Indian Ocean. The western part of the Indian Ocean, which is also known as the Arabian Sea, is directly adjacent to the coast of Pakistan, Iran, Yemen, Oman, and Somalia. The Arabian Sea has two small openings to the north and south, namely the Gulf of Oman in the north and the Red Sea in the south. Meanwhile, the Bay of Bengal in the eastern part of India is directly adjacent to the coast of Chennai in the west to the Andaman Sea and the coast of Myanmar in the east. And countries that had an interest in Indian Ocean region, many countries have direct or indirect access to the Indian Ocean, some of which are influential countries in the region and the world in general. Countries that have a strong influence in the Indian Ocean region include India, Pakistan, Indonesia, Australia, and also China. China's presence in regional political contestation in the last 2 decades cannot be separated from China's economic growth, which has now become a global economic power. Apart from that, China, which has begun to push its way into the Indian Ocean theater, wants to rebuild the maritime corridor Silk Route. In order to realize these ideals, China began to build its military base in Djibouti, with the hope that they could expand their influence in the Indian Ocean region. Its presence in the Indian Ocean certainly increased the risk of escalating political tension with India, and the Indian government sees the Indian Ocean as a strategic area for economic activity, space for military maneuvers, diplomatic relations, and other interests in the region. The Indian government has anticipated that other countries will fight for hegemony in the Indian Ocean by strengthening their bargaining power in the region while increasing the quantity and quality of their war fleets. Armed with the strategic advantage of the region it owns, it has become a demand for India to strengthen itself to become one of the countries to be reckoned with in the region. Even though India, India is well aware of the advantages of having direct access to the Indian Ocean and being the main country in ensuring the safety of navigation. Now, India is under the shadow of China in its efforts to enter and take part in regional geopolitical contest in the Indian Ocean. Pakistan, which has 990-kilometer coastline with the Arabian Sea, has no less potential in terms of exploiting maritime corridors for its economic trade. Pakistan is very dependent on these maritime corridors, with 95% of its export and import traffic relying on sea routes. Meanwhile, 100% of the supplied traffic for oil, fuel, and processed other agricultural products is sent by sea in the Arabian Sea. Thus, China's presence in building a new maritime corridor Silk Route is certainly welcomed by Pakistan because it has guaranteed the continuity of its maritime activities without worrying about the threats of the Indian Navy. Its proximity between the west coast and the Gulf allows Pakistan to gain the most efficient and fast sea access to Central Asian countries that do not have access to the sea through Gwadar port. With the construction of the Belt and Road Initiative or BRI and CPAC projects by China, Pakistan's Gwadar port has also become a hub for connecting gas and oil pipelines from Central Asian countries to warm waters through Afghanistan. So that if China's CPAC and BRI projects can take place optimally, then it is not impossible that Pakistan will grow into a new maritime power in the region that deserves to be reckoned with. Next. The year 2012 saw the end of large-scale piracy, but after that, other maritime crimes emerged such as drug trafficking, weapon smuggling, illegal fishing, and maritime attacks with a gray zone. In Somalia, blue crime or maritime crime is declared to have faded, but it is possible that it will resurface. This has influenced the UNSC decision to extend the mandate of the regional anti-piracy naval mission deployed in the West Indian Ocean. On the other hand, there are also concerns about smuggling crimes such as the confiscation of the French Navy, which managed to confiscate illegal drugs during operations to eradicate drugs through maritime routes in the Indian Ocean. Next. And now we're gonna take a look about the Indian Ocean during Age of Discovery and its importance to modern trade. Apart from the Mediterranean Sea, the Indian Ocean has a significant share in human mobility and connects it from the one land to another. But however, modern historiography of the Indian Ocean is now always imprinted on written data during the colonial era of Western nations. Thus, it is not surprising that the historiography of historiography itself is Eurocentric. Historical writing about the Indian Ocean is often divided in the ancient era, the spread of Islam, and the voyages of European nations as a result of the closure of trade access in Constantinople. Arab trades and missionaries made voyages to the west coast of Indian Ocean in the 8th century with evidence of building a mosque in Sanga, Kenya. This trade also influenced the spread of Islam, Arabic culture, and rice as the main food commodity. Apart from that, Muslim traders from the Arabian Peninsula also routinely carry out trading transactions, which later, more or less, the slaves converted to Islam. This transaction continued until the mid-late of 19th century. The impact of modern international shipping in the Indian Ocean began to emerge after the Industrial Revolution era that raged in Europe in the mid-18th centuries to the end of 19th century. This was caused by the shift from the use of sails on ships to the use of steam engines as the main driving propulsion. The operation of the Suez Canal in Egypt in 1896 also had a major influence on international trade traffic to this day. The Suez Canal makes shipping to and from East Asia more efficient. Thus, ships of European nationality coming from their colonies in India and Southeast Asia do not need to go around Africa to go Europe. entering the 21st century, global economic trade activities that are increasingly free have made international trade traffic activities that pass through the northern Indian Ocean route to the Suez Canal become increasingly congested. In contrast to the colonial era when ships of European nationality transport the results of exploitation in their colonies, now every sovereign country has its own rights to free trade and activities once. And now, the rest of the presentation will be presented by my partner Alfizada Tusolia.
Okay, thank you very much. And then international law regarding region safety and anti-piracy. In international shipping, there are various provisions and laws that are binding for the continuity of free and self-shipping activities without interruption from other parties. One of the provisions in Chapter 100 to 110 of UNCLOS, which states its protection for every ship that sails the seas to be free from the threat of pirates. Piracy is a real threat to shipping around the world. Chapter 101 UNCLOS regarding the definition of piracy definitively explained through the following description. A. Uh, any illegal act of violence or detention, or any act of depredation committed for private ends by the crew or the passenger of a private ship or a private aircraft, and direct first on the high seas against another ship or aircraft or against person or property on board such ship or aircraft. Secondly, a giant ship, aircraft, person, or property in a place outside the jurisdiction of any state. B. Any act of voluntary participation in the operation of a ship or of any craft with knowledge of fact making in pirates ship or aircraft. C. Any act of inciting or of intentionally facilitating an act described in subparagraph A or B. United Nations Security Council resolution. Okay. With the fall of Somalia's sovereignty over the prolonged civil war, country on the East African coast has become a dumping ground for hazardous was and also a place for illegal fishing. Thus, Somali pirates use it as justification for hijacking passing ship as retribution for the damage that has been caused by this foreign ship. A series of resolutions recommended by the UN Security Council have been issued for the security of international shipping in water. The resolution is the United Nations Security Council Resolution 19 and 18, which was adopted in 2010. And and the last, we have a solutive recommendation because the Indian Ocean is a water area in which there are different interests for each country. With the growing strength of China hegemony in the Indian Ocean, geopolitically, economically, and militarily, the region has become increasingly competitive. Thus, joint efforts are needed to reduce the escalation of political tension in the region through partnership in fighting a common enemy, namely piracy and terrorism. The following are the recommendations that we put forward as an effort to improve shipping security in the Indian Ocean within the framework of cooperation while reducing political tension in the region. Uh, First, establishing multilateral mutual defense cooperation in the Indian Ocean region, or IOR, with India, Pakistan, China as a permanent contingent, as well as Indonesia and Australia as main observers, who are also allowed to participate in joint training activities. Secondly, emphasizing the shared commitment to piracy and terrorism as a collective enemy, and then joint exercise with include preventing piracy and commercial ship, hostage relas, drug and weapon smuggling, and search and rescue operation. And the last, joint commitment in effort to reducing tension in the region by reducing the prevalence of armed for activities in the region. Thank you very much. I think enough. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum assalam, and thank you so much for a very interesting presentation. Thank you for joining us from Indonesia. The next presentation is by Dr. Asad Mahmood from Pakistan, and the topic of his presentation is BRI Economic Corridors, Implications for Future Economic Development in Global Recession. Over to you, Dr. Asad.